He's like the modern day Pip.
We're being paid off by Big Dumb Guy. And the Dumb Guy Industrial Complex is telling us not to read anymore. Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two of us first talk about the wonderful world of gaming.
Wow.
Speed
Was
run.
that a speed record?
That was a speed run.
You're doing a speed run.
3 seconds of intro, David.
Wow, that is impressive.
I will say that is probably largely unintelligible for anybody who is joining us for the first time here.
Yeah, should we do it nice and slow for the newbies now?
You're going to have to wait until the next one. Sorry, everybody.
This train is going. No going back.
Did I even say my name?
No.
My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
We're playing video games here this week, actually.
Still gaming.
Yeah,
after all
I think
these
so.
years.
I considered switching to books this week, but I was like, no, I think games still have something. They still got a little sauce, at the very least.
Switching to books. Wow.
Yeah. Reading is so much harder than playing a video game, which I know is like what my grandparents feared when they saw me playing Pokemon, but like reading is not as fun as a video game.
I don't know if it's harder. It's just a different skill.
It's harder
because
for me.
Grandma is gonna say that reading a book is much easier than playing Halo.
That's true.
So don't knock your hand-eye coordination, your fine motor skills, my friend.
That's true, but my reading good brain is not as good.
What about your reading bad brain?
That one's fine. He's all up in there.
Flexed
yeah,
up.
Flexed, ready to read bad books, fairy smut, or whatever may come his way.
But you're not reading The Great Gatsby anymore, huh?
No, Gatsby's had his moment. It's over.
Yeah.
I wondered about like trying to read like a classic book like that again, like in my adult world. Cause like I've had moments where I'm like, oh, the like new context would actually make these kind of books like a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe you shouldn't take English class until like 30 years old. Cause like I don't know anything when I'm like 15 and reading this shit, you know?
Well, they're trying to teach you things. That's the point.
Yeah, but I don't know it then.
Sure.
Ain't
You
gonna learn.
You gotta live it.
Yeah, I gotta live it a little bit. But the problem is like, could I do it? Could I read Catcher in the Rye or something now?
Oh man. Could I? Yes. Would I? Probably
not. Yeah,
Probably not.
I don't think so. Unless it's like a real banger. I'm probably not going to do it, you know?
I'd probably read Life of Pi.
Yeah, Life of Pi would bang pretty good. That's a good one. But
I don't
like,
think I would read like The House of Seven Gables.
No, like Wuthering Heights, you expect me to put in like 900 pages into that? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Great Expectations.
No.
Give me the wiki. I know what Pip's doing.
I got fucking Astrobot to play, man. We're being
He's
paid
like
off
the modern day Pip.
We're being paid off by Big Dumb Guy. And the Dumb Guy Industrial Complex is telling us not to read anymore.
Big poor reading comprehension has paid us off.
Yeah.
He's trying to make sure that the American populace keeps reading at a 4th grade level.
I'm trying out here, man. I'm doing the best I can, Big Dumb Guy. Hey, have you been playing video games, David?
I have been, Chase. I
would just like love to hear about them.
Still making my way through Sekiro.
Surely you've got to be close to the end of the game right now.
I am. I'm getting close. I haven't made much progress in like the actual main storyline. Yeah. Because I got sidetracked by a text message from one Drew, our friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Who said, I just beat Owl 2. And I said, huh, do you mean like I just beat Owl as well? Yeah. And he said, no, the second time you fight Owl. And I once again said, I played this game before and I never did that. So this is just classic FromSoft of there's some pretty interesting, fun, and clearly well thought out and really a lot of work put into content that's just hidden behind some kind of esoteric shit. It's like you have to exhaust a lot of dialogues with certain characters, and then you have to know that you can eavesdrop on certain characters by hugging walls near them, and then just knowing to like peek around a corner and press the down arrow on the D-pad to eavesdrop, which I had no idea you could do the first time I played through this game. So I've never played this whole entire level. So my good friend, the IGN walkthrough, told me how to get it. And so, yeah, now I'm in the Harada estate once again with the father's owl, Bell Charm, this time. And Owl is kicking my ass. I got through the whole entire level, and now it's Owl again. You have to fight Juzo the Drunkard again, who is a very hard fight in the beginning of the game. He's usually one of the places that I get stuck the most in my replays, in the replay that I've done so far. And the first time I played the game, I remember I was stuck on him for a long time.
Yeah.
But now you're fighting Owl, where Madame Butterfly, Lady Butterfly.
Yeah, it's in like the burning building, right?
The burning building underneath Harada Estate, where there's a big Buddha statue in the background. Great vibes in there. Very cool place to have a battle.
Yes.
And Owl is just, once again, like I talked about beating Owl last week, how he just is very much feels like a father figure that you're fighting against. He's just like bigger and stronger and does all the same stuff that you do, but just better. And now his name as the boss is Owl parentheses father.
Father. Yeah.
In case you didn't know. And he does all those. Yeah. So he gets the +5 buff for being dad. Like saying that he is dad in this right now makes him stronger.
It's like playing Mario Kart with your actual father when you're like 4 years old.
Exactly. And then once again, he just does everything you do, but better, but even more so now. Like he has the end move of the Shinobi arts tree, which is like the shadow rush, where he just like lunges at you from across the map and then jumps up in the air and just slashes the hell out of you. And if you get hit by that, you're toast. It's over. There's a lot of one-shot kills by Owl in this fight, and not to mention that his posture is so strong. My goodness, you really got it. You can, because in this game, usually if you get someone's vitality down enough, you can deflect like 4, 5, 6 blows maybe, and like they're ready to go with a death blow. But you can get this man down so far down on his vitality, and he is still chugging along just fine. So it's a very difficult fight. Yeah. But I'm enjoying it a lot. I didn't know there was new content for me to enjoy in this game. And it's very good content. Like this is not just a little afterthought of a level. There's 2 mini bosses, a bunch of like upgrade materials and stuff. So very beneficial for your playthrough as well to go through this level. And the vibes are just so good with the burning Buddha in the background, and just like your conversation with him beforehand, where he just says he's disgusted by you, and he's just like
so amazing.
Needs to put you down. Yeah, it's really good. Did you do this battle before?
I remember getting here. I don't know if I beat him the first time I played it. I've only played it once, so like I don't remember. My guess is no. I bet I got here and was like, no thanks, actually.
Yeah, he's quite strong.
He's really difficult. I'm like mixed on that approach that Dark Souls has.
FromSoft? Or Dark Souls?
Or FromSoft, like any Dark Souls game that does this, where like there is some optional thing that is extremely cool that you could miss. Yeah. Because on one hand, I get why that's compelling, of like, you're not even looking for it, but like if you search hard enough, you can find something really cool. Yeah. And I think that is cool. And like the experience you were describing of like, I played this and didn't know this was here, and now the second time I have like more shit that I'm experiencing. It's like kind of still a new game in some ways. Yeah. Which I get. I think that is like a valid approach. It also sometimes feels a little out of step with how like the internet works, of like, I'm not going to be discovering this. I will simply not do that. And so like, it's kind of just targeting people who are like, know exactly how to twist the FromSoft buttons to get in the right place to maybe get the optional content. Yeah. Or it's for people like myself who will look up and be like, how would I have known that? And then gone and done it. And so I guess it's just like, are you hoping to do like an experience that some people will find originally, and then eventually everybody will have access to it if they just do a little bit of research? Or are you like kind of holding it a little bit farther from your chest so people can see it more, right? Or it makes it more accessible. It kind of reminds me of the conversations we've talked about before of like a quote unquote true ending in any video game. And how like that can be oftentimes like a little bit of a frustrating experience. Yeah.
I think we were talking about Sekiro when we were talking about
probably
this.
Yeah.
I think it was this game.
And like, know that either one of those is really better or worse. It's going to depend a lot on the game and like what you're communicating by offering a good or bad ending. I think Silent Hill's approach pretty notably is like a really interesting way to do endings, where it's like, it's kind of about how you acted rather than like, did you click the right button prompt or something like that. You know, like, did you keep your health high? That's an interesting approach.
Did you talk enough to this person?
Yeah.
Which is what it often is in Sekiro.
Yeah. But I think that design philosophy works a lot better in something like Elden Ring, where there's so much discovery, and that's like part of the loop of like, keep talking to people, keep wandering and finding stuff, that it it's fun because like that's just constantly happening. And so you're never really like, or at least I never felt like I was really missing out. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, there's something critical here. Unless there's like a moment where it's like, okay, how the fuck do I get to Moog's palace or whatever?
Yeah. Or how do I get this next scattertree fragment?
That one specifically. Yeah. The scattertree thing. But yeah, because it's more common, it doesn't make it as painful. And so like in a linear game like this, it stands out a lot of like, well, there was an optional thing that I kind of missed that I maybe wish I would have, but at the same time, you're describing a satisfying experience where you went this time and had a good time. So I don't know. I'm not sure where I land on that.
Yeah, this is different, I think, than an ending, right? Because this is, not something that I needed to do to complete the game, but is nonetheless, I think, adds a lot of depth to the lore and the characters. And even to get to this point, you get a lot more lore and backstory as to who these people are and like what exactly am I doing and why am I doing the things that I'm doing. And I remember pretty clearly the first time I played this game, just being so confused as to why anyone was doing anything or why anything was happening. What was my motivation besides just doing what Kuro wanted me to do and like helping my little buddy? Yeah, so it gives a lot of backstory and fleshes out like Emma especially gets a lot more fleshed out just getting to this point, and you get a lot more information on like who she is, kind of how deeply entwined she is with these other characters. Whereas like my first playthrough, I was kind of sketched out by him. I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't know what you are. You know things that I have no idea what you're saying, but it really personalizes her. Yeah. So I do like that I'm getting more of that from this as well. But once again, this is still something that even now going through this game, I was not getting these dialogues unless I looked it up online as to how to do this. Yeah. Because I just, like I said, I never had the idea to hug a wall in a room with two other like NPC characters and try to eavesdrop on them. That's just not something I would have ever fathomed to do in this game. So yeah, it's just one of those FromSoft quirky things. I think it makes this playthrough a little bit more compelling because I'm experiencing it, but also at the same time, it's like, I mean, it would have been cool to at least be given the knowledge that I can eavesdrop on NPCs in this game that are like characters that I converse with regularly, friendly characters, because usually you're only eavesdropping on enemy characters, right? So now it's like, okay, whenever I see two NPCs in a room together, I'm trying to eavesdrop on them. Okay, great, good to know. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but I think maybe if I had figured this out like after I had beaten the game, that I could have done this, I would have been a little annoyed because I don't want to go back in, spend all that time, get back to this point and then do it again. But since it's been like 5 years, I think it's a little bit more palatable just because, it's like, okay, great, more content. That's cool. It's sort of kind of hidden content, but yeah, I think there's just a little annoyance in the moment, but overall going back and playing it, kind of fun.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to hear.
Yeah, it's a fun game though. Great game. Yeah. Still just razor sharp as far as the combat goes. I have also been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
I won't be getting too much into it because we're going to have a little something for y'all about that later on.
Shocker.
Shocker.
The series that we've been slowly walking through each one of them in a bonus episode style thing we will probably be doing for that one.
Yeah, so that one's coming up, but I'm enjoying, I just want to say one thing is that I'm really enjoying the gummy ship a lot more in this one.
Oh my God.
It's the weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just the ethereal component of the gummy ship. Is like I want it, but oftentimes it's not good. Yeah. But I feel like in this game in particular, it's getting a little bit better the further on I go. I feel like some of the later levels give you a little bit more sense of speed. Yeah. And it just like also auto upgrades and updates the gummy ship for you in this one. You don't have to like
it's a little easier.
Go in and make a new ship. It's just like you have the blueprints. Here's the new Highwind. Here you go. Level 6 now. So you're always getting like a slightly different ship that's more powerful. So like right now I just went to Agrabah and I had a pretty decent time going through the gummy ship component of that level. God. I was like, I was surprised too. I was like, it kind of felt like F-Zero for a bit because you're on an ancient highway in the sky and in space. So you're like low going over something. It gives you that sense of like speed and viscerality. So yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed that.
This is surprising.
I was surprised too. I was shocked. I was like, am I enjoying the gummy ship right now? Like, what is happening?
I played 1 and 2 pretty close like back to back to each other. I think that was like middle of last year or something like that. And it definitely, in contrast to 1, feels a lot better.
Yeah.
But my fear when I was playing it was like, am I going to be a fan of the gummy ship now? And mercifully, my feeling was no. No, I'm still not a huge fan of the gummy ship.
Let me be clear. I would not say I'm a gummy ship fan still.
Yes.
Let me just make that clear.
It's better than the other one.
It was just, I was surprised that I was like enjoying it a little bit. I'm like, wow, hey, they could cook with this a little bit if they wanted to.
Yes. Unfortunately, I think that they kind of did in Kingdom Hearts 3. I've been playing that a little bit, and like it's like maybe one of the better Star Fox games that's out there. It's definitely not as good as Chorus, but it's in the same vein as Chorus of like kind of an open world, open area.
Man, I cannot remember this for the life of me. And I just played that game. I'll have to dip back in a little bit for when we do the episode on number 3. But yeah, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, it's like open zone. So you like go in there and you actually have to physically fly to each of the worlds rather than just being on like a one-way street to the world that you're going to.
Mm-hmm. I liked Chorus. Chorus was fun.
Chorus was fun. Not a perfect game by any measure, but like they had the feel of flying a spaceship just so down.
I think it was the open world.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think if it had smaller, tighter levels, it would have sung its chorus.
Because the ship flying was great.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Drifting in space, baby.
That is incredible.
It's incredible. That's all I've been playing. That's all I've been playing besides what we're playing for the pod this week.
Yeah, sure enough. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
What have you been playing, Trace?
I got 2 things for you. Do you want the curveball first or second?
Curve me up.
Right now? Okay, cool.
Curve me right now, baby.
The curveball. It's Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, David.
Okay. What is this? I've been seeing a lot of chatter on the internet about this game. What is going on here? Why are people talking about this?
Okay, so this came out pretty recently, and it is a sequel to a game that came out in like 2011, which is, of course, 40k Space Marine 1. And I think the game was like pretty well regarded by the people who played it, but it kind of strikes me as like not a sleeper hit, but like one that like the people who played it love it, but like that wasn't a huge critical success.
A cult classic.
Yeah, a bit. Despite the fact like it is, a big game, I think it's very marketable. So I doubt it like, sold horribly. But yeah, I think people were sort of clamoring for like, what is the next game in this series? But they recently came out with a new one of those. It was made by Saber Interactive. And it is a game that picks up after the first one. So it's like in a continuity with the first one, but it's not directly afterwards.
Okay.
So far as I know, again, I haven't played the first one, so I can't speak with any authority on it.
Sure.
I really didn't know what this game was going to be. Like when I fired it up, I just heard from people like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like I'm having a good time with it. And so I wanted to check it out too. Essentially what this game is do you remember the game Remnant from last year? Remnant 2?
I do. It's an isometric RPG. Is that right?
No, this was a kind of Dark Soulsy, kind of not game that like what you would like hop from different kind of like world to world.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It plays a lot like that. That's what it reminds me of when I'm playing it, in that it is definitely kind of Dark Soulsy in the way that you have like a big sword that you can swang around when you're up close, but you also have guns and can shoot guns.
Sure.
And so it's a very interesting combination of like what happens when you combine a fairly like plotting and I wouldn't say slow, but slower form of combat in the melee with something that has guns in it as well. Sure. And I think Remnant is a very cool answer to that question. I think so is this game. It is very compelling to play. Like, and me having no Warhammer knowledge whatsoever, that's all I've really got is this fun to play? And the answer is yes, it is actually.
Nice.
So you start through this campaign and you're getting, if I'm so wrong about this stuff, I'm so sorry, Warhead or Warhammer heads. But you like get dropped into this planet that's being taken over by essentially the Zerg, like just big bugs, like
big alien bugs.
Yes, big old bugs. And you're playing as Titus, it's essentially like one of the Space Marines, the big blue dudes from Warhammer that are like 10 feet tall and like genetically modified super soldiers.
Great.
And like your whole squad gets wiped out pretty early and you essentially die. And some part of the, I think, Imperium is like, hey, we got to bring you back to life because like we need you to fight still.
We have that technology.
Yes. Yeah. They essentially like actually rebuilt him. Early on in the game, one of the dude who's like explaining to you why you're alive. He's like, the damage was fatal. We had to like do a do-over with you.
So is this RoboCop in space?
A little bit. It's a little RoboCop in space, but you are definitely still just like fighting bugs as the thing that you're doing.
Okay.
And so it plays out like, and this is kind of the thing about this game, is that it feels very 360 era.
Oh.
In that you're kind of just doing missions where you go and shoot stuff and hit stuff. And like, that's the video game.
Ain't nothing wrong.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. It will, I don't think at any point this is going to be like mind blowing for anyone, but the actual process of playing and shooting bad guys is very fun. It's still pretty good. Reminds me a lot of a couple of things. One, Gears of War, just kind of in the speed that
that's
you move in.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind when you talk about shooting and big old hulking guys who move slow.
Yeah, which I streamed this a little bit with Brendan Bigley from Into the Aether the other day. We just like popped online, like started playing. And that was something he was saying at the time was like, it like was Gears of War weirdly influenced by Warhammer. And I didn't know like, it just seems like there are so many influences on other things that are now kind of wrapping back around into this game that I'm like, is this me feeling Gears of War, or is this me feeling the influence of Warhammer originally? Right.
When did Gears of War come out?
In like the middle 2000s. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
But Warhammer 40K has been around since like the 80s, I think.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the game.
The Space Marine 1. No, yeah, that was 2011, but just the design of these big boys.
Yeah. I see.
And like a lot of them carry this weapon, which is like a sword that has like a chainsaw on it, which is like very like, hey, I've seen that before. I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it's partially that. Obviously, like the Dark Souls influence is present, but it also combines a lot of stuff from Doom, the 2016 version, where it seems like it is encouraging you to constantly kind of be aggressive with how you're playing. Like there are sort of bigger enemies that you will run into that you do enough damage and they kind of like flash red, like in Doom, and it's like you're supposed to go over there and like, you know, finish them off, which will give you more like essentially armor back. And also it does the Bloodborne thing where if you lose a little bit of health, there's a window where if you hit again, like right after that, you can regain some of that health back.
Sure.
And so I think the game is just asking you, like, you should be just kind of in the shit a lot of the time. Carefully, because like if you just jump into a group of dudes, it's not going to go great. But like it is sort of frenetic in the way that I found Doom to be, despite the fact you are playing like a 10-foot behemoth of a man.
Yeah.
But like all of that, I think combines into something that does feel really cool and novel, despite the fact like it is very much a 360 game, you know? Yeah. I like, it's hard for me to kind of place how I value games that are so specifically going after that era, you know? Because I think it's not really in a position right now where it's like a look or a game feel that's like, oh, it's a throwback, you know, like it's not like, you know, you put out Streets of Rage 4 or something like that. And it's like, okay, this is definitely going after the kind of side scrolling beat 'em up era. Yeah. And that's a choice unto itself. Right. And maybe you get lucky with something, not Polaris, not Stellaris, but Signalis. I always go Polaris, Stellaris, and then I'm like, it's in there somewhere.
It's a combo
where it's purposely taking that kind of aesthetic, that throwback aesthetic, and then doing something with that. And I'm not positive that people have figured out how to ingest the je ne sais quoi of PS3 360 era yet and like push that farther, you know? Because this is like
the je ne sais quoi of that era.
That's the thing. If I knew, I would be making that game.
What is it? Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but I think it's close here, right? Like there's something in this game that feels like it's from that era of like, whether it is the kind of mission structure, the follow a map marker and go kill a bunch of dudes of it all, or just the way that the story kind of plays out. It's all very of that era. It feels like you're playing a game from 2006. And so like, I don't know what the push of that is, but I think right now it still is fun to be like, wow, this really feels like the first couple Gears of War, or even something like Dante's Inferno or something like that, where it's like,
deep cut.
This is a solid game, and like this isn't the game of the year for sure, but like it's still extremely fun.
Yeah.
And so I haven't really figured out how to like talk about games like this yet, but it does feel similar to other games like this that are like that kind of feels like a PS3 360 game.
Mm-hmm. Why? We don't know, but it just does.
Yeah. Again, I feel like if I knew, I would be making a game that takes that and pushes it, but I don't know quite what it is or what like defines it or how you could kind of take that and push it farther. Honestly, I'm surprised Gears of War didn't in a more major way, because like for everything that game is, like the ridiculousness of the characters and Marcus Phoenix saying like, oh fuck yeah, whenever he like reloads his gun good.
Yeah.
Like it is still a fairly thoughtful game, all things considered, about like its story and what's happening there. And like clearly the humans are not the good guys in that one. That like the bugs and stuff are a response to how bad I think humans have been in the world here. And so, or like even the decisions that they make, I can't remember how spoilery this is, but there's a lot of like willing choices to be like, let's just like sacrifice some people. And like, that's kind of the decision we're going to make here in Gears of War. Like, they're making commentary there. And so I think it isn't quite, it like in my own head, it gets wrapped up in that almost like thoughtless era of shooters. Despite the fact I don't think it is. I don't think it is one of those.
Yeah.
I think it was just using the aesthetics and kind of the flavor of that era. And for me, I sort of categorize it in there, but it's not really that. And so I am surprised that like that didn't materialize in, you know, the past couple of Gears of War that weren't like, I'm sure it felt like a 360 game, but just like, I wonder what the next step in that is, you know, like, is it that your perspective shifts quite a bit when you're playing a different character and like the violence is different or like feels a different way, you know? Because I think it is, a lot of these games are defined by their abundance of violence.
There's a lot of violence.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, because that's one direction, right? Like, is there some commentary there? But like Doom went in completely the opposite direction with it of like, we're going to synthesize the stuff that made the first couple fun and push that really, really far. And they came away with something that is incredibly still very violent, but you would be hard pressed to see those two games and be like, this is just a throwback. It's like, it's clearly doing the stuff that is fun about the first ones, but also something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess as far as like PS3 360 era games go, I feel like the biggest change was like people were paying a lot more attention to narrative and like making stories in the game. Yeah. And that people didn't push forward like game mechanics as much. So there's always this feeling like, oh, this feels like this game from like PS2 or something like that with a little bit better graphics, but the story is crazy. The voice acting is actually good.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
Exactly. I feel like that's kind of like the cinematic era of gaming. Whereas, you know, with like Doom 2016, they're like, okay, let's really just see what we can do with mechanics. How can we really change that up? And it sounds like they're doing that a little bit with Space Marines, but maybe makes it feel a little bit more modern. They're trying to give it that treatment as well. Yeah,
and to be clear, they've clearly like ingested a lot of what has made games good in the past couple of years, or last like 10 maybe.
Yeah.
Like the fighting truly feels like Dark Souls, which is very fun. Or maybe closer to like Jedi Survivor or something. Because it's not nearly as difficult as Dark Souls or anything like that. But like your attack is mapped to R1 and, you know, your wind-ups are pretty long, you know? And I think it's asking you to be like conscious of when you attack and when you don't attack.
Sure.
That said, man, does it have good mechanics for fighting bugs? Like there are just so many little like swarming enemies constantly that just like it makes it so much fun to be like, do I really have to like fight all those guys, or is this like a fake out, you know? Because sometimes that'll happen, like, you know, especially from eras gone by where it's like you see a horde of enemies and then a bunch of them like split away from you to go fight somebody else, and you're only really fighting like 10 guys or something like that. But like sometimes you will see them charging down a hill and you're like, fuck, I think I do have to fight all those guys. And that's like kind of a thrilling feeling here, especially just because like there's so much power fantasy here in just being like the biggest boy who cannot be killed. It's really fun. They have a really fun parrying mechanic too, where like if you see somebody in the crowd with like a little blue circle that shows up above them, if you hit the left bumper, then you will essentially parry that attack. And like they frame it like cinematically so well, where it's like you'll be fighting and hitting, you'll see the blue thing, hit the parry button, and like maybe a half a second later, your dude like reaches out his arm and like grabs somebody who's jumping at him and like throws him on the ground essentially. And so it's not just this like stilted kind of animation. It looks like you had meant to do that. You were expecting them to jump up at you and lunge you, and you kind of were, but it just makes it look like very, very fun. I always feel very cool in any of those fights. And I think that's largely something that this game is relying on, is that it wants you to feel like the odds are so stacked against you, but you're just like the biggest, strongest dude here, and we'll make it work.
Love it.
So from what I've gathered, a lot of the like ethos of the Imperium is that you cannot be anything other than unquestioningly loyal to them. It's like the humans are like, they have merged military and religion a lot of the time. And so like there are like sermons in the like battle cruisers and shit like that, which is all just like so much fun. And I really like that stuff of like all of the big space marines have like almost Bible scripture on their suits and stuff. And like some of them wear like hoods that look kind of priestly and shit like that. They have little like mechanical flying cherubs around the church hall and shit like that. And so like all of that is so much fun. And I think like Brendan asked this in the stream the other day. He's like, why don't people think that this is funny? Because this is really funny. Like it's a very bizarre sight and seems like it is just straight satire of like, it's not that far, right? Like people definitely mix like religious worship and like military worship, and like the lines get a little blurry there sometimes. And so all of the design stuff I just find really fun in a similar way that I find Helldivers, where it's like, it's not quite as like intentionally funny, but it is sort of like, this is such a ridiculous place and ridiculous beliefs that like it is kind of fun to just exist there. And like also like it's so over the top with the shit that it's doing that I'm like, that's cool too. That's very fun. So like just wandering around the kind of like space station that you're on, or the battleship that you're on, is like kind of a delight. Yeah, so I'm interested in the story that it's presenting, because like it does show like cracks in the faith of some of the people that you're around. Titus himself, like in the first one, I think he was labeled like a heretic because he encountered what they call chaos, which I think is like a physical manifestation of something. Again, I haven't read Warhammer. I don't know what the fuck it is, but like he found some like bad graffiti in the story and is like,
bad graffiti.
Yeah, he's like, this shit sucks. I'm going nuts, man. And so like I'm interested in kind of where they push that, because I think my understanding, and this may be wrong, but like a traditional Warhammer story might be like, if you lose faith, you will be like disbanded immediately. And people certainly act like that, but I am interested in maybe there's some daylight in some of these people. Like it would make them feel a little bit more like a person rather than just like a cartoon character, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in where they go with that. My understanding is that the campaign's not horribly long, so I kind of expect like I'll probably be able to get there pretty soon. But I mean, for now, this is just like a fun shooting game. That's kind of how I'm treating it, of like, I've probably played games this year that have made me like reconsider the limits of what video games can do. And this one's not doing that. I know exactly what these kind of games can do, but it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to play. You know,
it's great.
That's Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
Hell yeah.
The other game that I'm playing, David, is kind of a card game, baby.
Right back to your bread and butter, huh?
Yeah. The last one was the curveball. This one's the fastball over home plate. I'm playing a game called Shogun Showdown, David.
Oh, okay. Is it about the show, Shogun?
It is not. That would be cool, actually. But no. This one is it's sort of a card game, sort of a little bit. It's like not exactly the same thing, but I'll explain what I mean in a second here. It is a roguelike, I guess, deck builder kind of strategy game is probably closer to where that lands. Essentially, the way the game works out is that you are just trying to get to the end of this run and kill the Shogun. You are one of a handful of characters that have like different abilities and shit like that. But often you will start with a couple of different kinds of attacks, which show up sort of as like tiles, which is like kind of why I say it's sort of cards. You can use those tiles to attack people. So like one of them would be, okay, I'm going to ready this like tile attack, and it's going to hit one like tile in front of me, one square in front of me, and it'll do 2 damage. Okay, fine. Another one might be like, I'm going to use this other one that does 3 damage and it attacks on both sides of me. So it's a 2D game. So it's like just one plane that you're kind of concerned with here. And there are also enemies on the board. And all of these things essentially like run on a turn timer. So like if you're playing, if you want to move one square to the right, that is a turn. So like the enemies will all do something while you're doing that. Or if you want to get a tile attack ready, then that is also a turn. Or attacking is also a turn. So like everything kind of runs on this clock of if you want to do something that's going to cost you a sort of like action, right? I think if any of that is confusing, the easiest thing to imagine this as is 2D Into the Breach, where it's like the enemies are telling you what they're going to do pretty far in advance. It's like you'll pull up, everything is totally stationary, and it's like one guy on the far right, he's going to throw a ninja star at me, and the guy on the left has a sword, but he's not next to me yet, so he's going to try and follow me until he can get to me.
Sure.
And so you are constantly aware of like what is happening in the fight. And so it's sort of up to you to be like, okay, I am in the middle of this battlefield. I need to move 2 squares to the right and hit the guy because I know he's going to attack first and he's got a ranged one. But like then there's some sort of conundrum of like, all right, well, I'm not going to make it there in time to hit him with a physical attack. Do I have something that's like long ranged, right? There's like throwing stars and arrows and like crossbolts and shit like that you can decide when to use them. And all of those run on like cooldowns, right? So it's like if you use your sword attack, that takes 3 turns to come back down so you can use it again. So it's this constant balancing act of like trying to figure out how to put yourself in a good position so that you don't actually get hit. Because you only have 10 health. And once you do that, once you get hit 10 times, you're out, right?
Sure.
There's ways to like recover that, but that's sort of the concept behind it all. All of that, like it's novel, right? I think the description of that is interesting on its face, but I'd be like, maybe that'll be interesting. It's so good. It's so fun to play. It is, I think, just a very good version of a lot of those things. It's a good roguelike, right? It is. I think the runs are about as long as I want them to be. It's like somewhere between half an hour to 40 minutes is like a full, I beat the game run.
Okay.
That's perfect for me because I can play a couple of those in like an hour and be like, wow, I played a lot. Whereas like sometimes I'll play even like a good version of these like Dead Cells or something like that. Like those are long runs in Dead Cells. It takes a long time to get through one of those. But something like Hades, like usually those are not more than like an hour or so, like to get through a run of Hades. And so that feels really good. The difficulty of the roguelike is really good where like I usually feel that whenever I die, it's my fault. Like it's not like, oh, the game just decided. Like once has it happened where I'm like, man, I really did not have any recourse for that like attack that they did. It's usually, dang it, I didn't see the implication of like, okay, this guy is going to hit me across the map and then that person has an attack ready that's also going to hit, like shit like that where the failure is just on your own part to kind of consider what's coming. And I think that that's like so satisfying for difficulty, but that I win enough, right? Like
Sure.
I feel like I've gotten better at the game. And, every, 5 runs at this point, like usually I'll kind of clear one. And then, of course, there's, more difficulty options after that. But like, I have a hard time in the roguelikes where I just never fucking win. I just never do it.
Yeah. It's very demoralizing.
It is. And like, there's alternatives to that. I think Dead Cells comes to mind where it's like, maybe I didn't beat the run, but I got farther than I did last time, of like, I'm slowly progressing. I beat a different boss. I got a little bit farther than I usually do. But, and like, I love these games a lot, but like FTL, I just like, it's so fucking hard to beat that game. Like I regularly would get to the end of a run and just get absolutely brutalized by that last boss. Or a card game that came out last year, Wild Frost, that was really, really fun. Yeah. But just, I would get like demoralizingly beaten at the same spot every time. And like, sometimes I would be like, I feel like I am good enough at these games. Like, what am I not learning in this game that is stopping me from progressing? Whereas like, again, in this one, it's just like, I lost a bunch in the beginning. And then I'm like, okay, I think I actually feel like I'm getting better here, and then eventually would win, right? Not that I need a game to hold my hand, but I think it compels me to keep playing because it feels possible for me to win pretty regularly if I'm just like paying close enough attention and like being responsible with the moves that I'm doing and stuff.
Sure.
And a lot, like, again, similar to Into the Breach, a lot of the game's strategy just comes down to positioning yourself well, where like each of the characters that you can play, they all have these like abilities that will somehow change your position in a way that benefits you. Like the first one you get is that if you're right next to somebody and you have like this cooldown like ready, then you can swap places with them. And the implication being there that like, say somebody's about to attack in front of them and you have a guy right behind you. If you swap them, they will attack each other. Right.
Sure.
So like that is the End of the Breach thing, where it's like, you don't even necessarily need to fight all the time. You just need to move yourself around in an intelligent way to get the enemies to like kill each other, which is just always so satisfying. Or actually, I won't reveal sort of the second ability, but it's all, a lot of it is based around positioning, which I find just like very, very fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I am loving this game. I'm playing a lot of it. It's also it's a game that I am engaged when I'm playing it, but it's not like one of those things where it's like I have to be so locked in to be playing it correctly. It's like at a certain point you've learned the lessons that it's going to teach you, and you kind of just have to remember to execute on those, rather than like, you know, I'm playing Batten Kaitos and like I'm really reading everything and making sure that I'm like doing the right shit. This one's not like that necessarily. And I don't know. I'm finding that very fun to be able to like kind of not like secondarily play this, but just like do it while I'm doing something else.
Sure.
I will say horrible before bed game. Oh my God.
Too much stress.
It's not even that stressful. I think I'm just more engaged with it.
Gotcha.
Like
too much brain.
Balatro is the perfect before bed game because I'm thinking a little bit, but I can definitely get tired playing Balatro. Like it's just my brain is not on that much. Whereas with this one, it's like I'm kind of constantly like, okay, if I got to move over there and then he's going to attack. And then, oh shit, I didn't think about this guy over here. So let me like reverse strategy. That a little. Yeah, you really got to be thinking. And so like I've played this a couple times where I'm like, all right, it's like 11. I'll like play this for half an hour and then go to bed. And then it's like 12:30. I'm like, God damn it. Just totally fucked this up. But yeah, Shogun Showdown. It's really fun. It's also fairly cheap. I think it was like $15 on the Switch store. Oh, wow. So like not that bad. And I think it's quite good. Of course, this is in my wheelhouse, you know, like, yeah, it's not a surprise that I like a almost deck building card game, but still pretty good. I guess I didn't say that the part where you start building stuff is that you will be given options of different attack tiles that you can choose. So it's like, do you want the arrow or the tonfa that like hit people on both sides and knock them back or something like that? And so at a certain point, it's like, okay, I've got all these attacks. One of them swaps me with somebody on the other side, and I've also got something that attacks behind me. So there's some like synergies here of me being able to move very quickly across and then attack behind me or something like that, right? And so there's a lot of strategy in how you build your sort of approach to how you beat these guys. And it's all very good. It's all very fun. I really like it.
Nice. Oh yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah. It's good. Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
It's enemies telling you what they're going to do. Really satisfying.
Yeah. Just like showing you what their next turn's going to be.
Yes. Yeah. Here's what's coming for you.
Sure.
I find that really satisfying. It's like, you know, in this game, Shogun Showdown, it's like there's a tile above their head that's like, I'm going to hit you with a spear. I find that really satisfying because it then turns into this like puzzle a lot of the time of like, do I have a way out of this? Is there an option for me to get out of this situation? And oftentimes the answer is yes. You just need to like think about it a little bit. But this Into the Breach, FTL, Slay the Spire is another one. And like a little bit of FromSoft too. Like I think that's why a lot of FromSoft enemies are pretty fun. Yeah. Because like they are telling you what they're going to do. Their attacks don't come out of nowhere.
When sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. But, you know, Owl, when he has the big owl in his hand, is going to throw the fire owl at you. And so you need to like be prepared to jump.
Gotta jump. Yeah. When he throws out the gunpowder, you know, get the fuck out of there.
It's time. Yeah. You got to back up.
Yep.
So that's really fun. I really like it.
Cool, man.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
Yes, it's secrets.
Secrets. Keep your secrets, wizard.
Keep your secrets, Miyazaki. Yeah, I love unearthing secrets in a game, whether it's lore related, whether it's game play related, whether it's content related. It's always just so satisfying when a thread that you pull on results in something cool that the dev knew, like, hey, pull on this string, we're leaving this here for you to follow, and like, hey, there's a pretty cool thing for you to look at afterwards or to engage with or to listen to. Always just very satisfying, always a good time. And I think right now, like I was thinking about this level in Sekiro that I'm playing right now. And that to me was fun. And I think that FromSoft does have an idea of, okay, people have the internet nowadays, so nothing really is secret. Mm-hmm. Some people will find this organically, but most people will not. And I'm okay not finding this one organically, but hearing it organically from a friend that this is something I can do, I feel also is a way of putting the breadcrumb in front of me to find how to get to there, which I enjoy. It's a great time.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's weirdly a very Mario thing to do. Like, I feel like Mario's big on its secrets. Mm-hmm. Initially in a way that would allow you to progress, like jumping over what is that area in Mario 3 where it's like you go into the ceiling and there's like the flute and shit like that.
Oh, yeah. Don't remember what the area is called.
I feel like the more recent ones kind of like weaponize that in a good way where it's like everything feels like you're unearthing a secret, despite the fact like they have very intentionally led you to most of these places. Mm-hmm. But it feels like you're like, oh, there's something back there. I should go check out what that is.
Absolutely. I think Mario Wonder just did a really good job of this. I'm in the desert level there, and in the overworld, there are like these little like mounds that you can run into, and they reveal a level. You can go behind the sand waterfall, and there's a level back there. Astrobot does it really well, where it's just like, there's 4 torches on this wall, and if I hit one of them, it goes out. I wonder what happens if I hit all of them.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, it's just so good. It's great. It's just one of those very video game things. It's always just so satisfying when you find something like that.
It is, and it always feels like the developer's looking at you like, come on, you can do it.
Yeah,
like go find this. I've left you enough.
The same way that I look at my dog to go to the bathroom in the morning when I bring her outside. I'm like, you can do it.
Please.
Let me, it's cold. Let me go inside.
Yeah, I want to go back to bed. Do you want to move on to our main sort of fluidy thing, David?
Let's fluid it up. Let's get moist.
Huh.
Let's get moist.
All right, I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Hey, welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them.
How did you say good games? You're like, hey, welcome to Good Game.
Hey, welcome to Good Game. Are you aware of the Dewey's Adventure lore that has become part of our show now?
Tangentially, yes.
There's like
it's been requested for many moons, many eons has it been requested.
So Jared, thank you for suggesting Dewey's Adventure, Jared. Suggested a 2-in-1 back in August 25th of 2022.
Whoa.
Jared said, hey, play Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, which we did, and Dewey's Adventure for the Wii.
Yeah.
And he's been sort of staging efforts at a revolution every now and then that to get us to play Dewey's Adventure.
He has a little sit-in every once in a while. I'm not going anywhere until you play Dewey's.
A light boycott from time to time. And so I was like, you know what? I think it's finally time.
Today's the day.
We're playing Dewey's Adventure, finally. Mm-hmm. I think this is our first Wii game. No, we played Red Steel. Never mind.
Damn, we did play Red Steel.
That was during the time when we were mostly just watching clips of the game.
Yeah.
And then trying to remember what it was like to play it.
I was about to say, I don't remember replaying that game because, man, was that a beast to replay.
Yeah, good Lord. Like, we'll get into how we played it, but Dewey's Adventure was not quite as challenging, I think, than Red Steel would be.
Yes. Yeah, that would be exceptionally hard. Break my Retroid in two.
Yeah, for real. Had you heard of Dewey's Adventure, David?
No.
Me neither.
I'd never heard of Dewey's Adventure.
That's it. Great. Done.
That's it. That's the whole segment. Sorry, Jared. We really focused it on this one.
Had you heard of it? No, and I still haven't. Didn't play it. Goodbye. No, I also hadn't heard of it. There was a tangentially kind of related game called Elebits that I think I had heard of.
Is that like bits of elephants?
No, it's electronic bits. Elebits.
Okay.
They're weird little guys in the game, but I was like sort of aware of that one. I can't remember if that was like, did I see that on like a Blockbuster shelf a lot or something? Because I recognized the name, but that is really the only connection that I had to Dewey's Adventure.
How was this game related? Oh, it looks similar.
It was made by a similar group of people.
Not the same group of people, but a similar group of people.
I only say similar because Konami is listed as the developer. Actually, hold on. Let's get into hot stats real quick. I'll tell you about it there.
Sure.
Hot stats.
Dewey's Adventure came out September 27th of 2007 in North America, and it was made by Konami. So Konami is a huge, gigantic company, and at the time was making quite a few games. And so I'm not sure the entire staff of who made each game, but like the producer, director, and all like the kind of higher ups of the project were similar between this game and Elebits.
I was about to say, it looks like it has very similar art style, like for their for their cutscenes.
Yeah, the visuals are pretty similar.
Looks like a kid's novel. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I'll you know what? I'm going to read the show video review in a second. I'm going to read what Jared had to say about the game here. He said, I have a real soft spot for Dewey's Adventure since it's the first video game I can remember being hyped for pre-release. I watched trailers and YouTube reviews just foaming at the mouth for the chance to play as this little dewdrop.
Beautiful.
I didn't grow up on Monkey Ball either, so the movement and gameplay all felt brand new to me, especially using the motion controls. Dewey's Adventure is also the first game I can remember finishing all on my own. I wasn't big on completing games as a kid, so this one stands out as a game I completed and found almost everything in. I hope you can find some Podtimism in there.
Yeah. Foaming at the mouth.
Just crazy for Dewey. Feral for Dewey.
Feral for Dewey. Trying to get that moisture.
Trying to get that dew. What that dew
do? Is that doo for you?
Cancel the podcast.
Yeah, we are done. We're done. We've jumped the shark. That's it.
I do have a review from our friends at Joe Video. I took their review, which was originally in French, ran it through Google Translate a number of times, one language into another, to mangle it up real good and get a artist's interpretation of what they had to say, which I will read for you now, David.
Let's hear it.
Despite some of the better features, there was nothing special about the Wii. So Dewey's arrival just changed. The site not only uses basic missions to test your skills, but also uses famous skills and offers high-level competition. But adversity can be scary for many people. And they gave that a 7 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
they kind of
incomprehensible, and then like some real like knowledge at the end there.
It's kind of what our podcast is. It's the nothing and then gaming wisdom, and then that's
a real wisdom at the end of that show video. Wait, but we are the podcast equivalent of the show video review through Google Translate.
I think that is kind of
that's pretty accurate.
It speaks to us.
That's pretty accurate.
I love the claim that nothing is special about the Wii.
I know, a bold claim. Right off, nothing is special about the Wii, even though it was the first motion control console. Nothing is special. Nothing special about this.
It's straight over the home plate, man.
Yeah. Throw it in the trash.
What is Dewey's Adventure? How do you play this game?
Dewey's Adventure is a very unique little game. So it is on the Wii. So you hold the Wii remote as horizontally. Like a little controller, and you have to tilt the controller to move this little dewdrop around the map.
Yeah.
So essentially, the Wii remote correlates to the ground that Dewey is on, and you move the ground to move Dewey around the map. You can jump up into the air, you can spin, you can change Dewey's molecular state, which is pretty cool.
I think you change the weather, which makes him like cold, and so he turns into ice, or like he turns into steam.
Steamy Dewey. Steamy D, the original Steamy D.
Steamy D.
Oh my gosh,
that is true.
We found him. So you have to go around the levels, guiding Dewey around to rescue these eels.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a word I read.
EAUs.
Yeah, and I was like, how will I say this?
It's all vowels and a lot of confusion. But you have to essentially rescue these little guys who are around the map. There's usually about 100 of them per level.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of homies. And so the levels they're pretty linear. You know, you go through. There's like little jumps you can go over. There's little like shooty things that will shoot you to different parts of the level. You have to traverse different areas differently. So like if there's a big puddle, you can't get through as Dewey, but you have to become Ice Dewey to get across, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it keeps you on your toes with that kind of stuff. You can make gusts of wind and earthquakes too. So Dewey is some sort of primordial god of some sort, as kind of what I get from it.
Yeah.
And he kind of is, just based off of the lore, which is a little wacky in this game. We might get into that in a second. But yeah, it's essentially you tilt the levels around to make Dewey move. You can jump. You can slam or spin or zap things depending on what type of Dewey you are. What does that Dewey do? It depends on the dew point. And and you go around the levels and you beat little bad guys as well. who are just slinking around in there. I don't remember what they're called. It's like Don Hedron is the big bad guy in this game.
Am I like I kept reading Don Hedron?
Am I missing something?
What am I missing? Like it seems like that is a reference to something, and like
right?
Hedron is just like it means it is a shape, right? Like like dodecahedron is the suffix of like hedron is the thing applied to the end of that means like this is a shape.
So since Dewey kind of lacks a shape, or his shape is always changing, Don Hedron is the antithesis to Dewey since he has shape and sides. He is defined.
That's also what I thought is like, is it just that he's unnatural in the sense that he's maybe man-made? But like, that is a lot of interpretation to be doing for like the name of the bad guy.
Because like they say his full name.
Every time.
His name is not Don. It's not Hedron. It's not Calamity Hedron. It is Don Hedron.
Don Hedron. Yeah.
Each time it's Don Hedron.
I was very unclear about what his deal was, but yeah, he's like he is kind of a calamity in the world here. It's just that like his presence is like fucking up the natural order of nature, I guess.
Yeah, he's like black ink or something, or like black rain, and he comes, and then Dewey is like the last drop of dew from the like primordial tree or something that the only thing that can stop him. Yeah.
The lore goes pretty nutty with it. It gets a little nuts in there.
Yeah, I did enjoy the opening cinematic. I enjoyed the art style. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, among the, like, we haven't largely covered the Wii era very much, and that's just a consequence of, like, it's not always the easiest thing to either play on the original hardware or emulate.
Yeah.
This one, mercifully, like, I thought it was going to be much harder than it was, but it actually wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I am excited to maybe get into more Wii stuff because, like, man, does this game look pretty good in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I like played it on my computer and I was able to like, you know, turn up the graphical rendering a little bit, and like it looks really good when it's like upscaled, because like the art style is still like very, very good. Like this isn't that far away from something that could come out this year.
Yeah, it was not going for realism. It was going for artistic, and those games always stand the test of time so much better as far as graphics go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that is much easier to upscale too. Like it is very simple to like make a cartoon character just look a little clearer rather than like, you know, Jill Valentine looking more like a human. Like it doesn't always translate perfectly.
It's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I love the art style. It was really, really cool, and definitely feels weirdly of its era, like very Wii.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with the phrase? I think it's Frutiger arrow.
No. What is that?
It's like a description of the design from kind of like the Windows Vista era of a lot of it's the Wii, essentially.
Arrow?
Yeah.
What does Frutiger mean?
I have no idea. I've never looked at the source of that like origin story there.
All right.
But it's a lot of like frosted glass looks.
I say
and
frosted
like,
tips.
It's a lot of frosted tips and like synchronized boy band dancing.
A lot of puka shells.
A lot of puka shells, a lot of cargo shorts. No, that's an earlier design.
Yeah.
It's like it. I mean, it is very Wii. Like if you look at the design of like the UI of the Wii, it feels very similar. And this game feels like right in line with that.
Gotcha.
Of, you know, the UI is like pretty diegetic. Not like it's not necessarily a part of the world, but like it is presented with the style of the world.
Sure.
Like your health being the kind of like little dewdrops up in the right-hand corner coming off of a vine.
Yeah.
Or the temperature scale having a little Dewey in the corner that like, you know, is very stylized and shit like that. And so like, I just find all of that very charming. It is not something I necessarily feel nostalgia for in the way that like probably somebody who's like 10 years younger than us feels about the Wii of like, oh man, games are made different back then. But like, it is very fun to experience that because it's like, this is like not here in the same way anymore.
Yeah. I guess I did have a big blast of nostalgia when I hit the home button on the emulator and I brought up the Wii like pause home menu. And I was like, oh boy, I did not see that in a while, man.
Yeah.
That was something else.
It's really a shame that the Wii is such a challenging thing to like experience in 2024.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy to like drag your Wii out and set up the whole fucking sensor bar and shit like that.
It's a process.
And like is largely not easy to play outside of the original hardware, and I guess if you own a Wii U, then maybe you could do that too. But it's kind of challenging to like experience, and so it's for me at least is definitely a bigger blind spot of just an era that I'm not always looking at very hard, and that's a shame because again in experiencing especially the visuals of this game, I was like, man, this is right in line with the shit that Nintendo is doing still.
I mean, I think it might be a very copious amount, or not copious, but it's the motherlode of Podtimism games that might be on the Wii, honestly.
I think so, yeah, because so much of it has a lot of heart, but is just like not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's trying new things with the motion controls. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but hey, it tried. Yeah. It tried something different.
How did you feel about the sort of way you control this game?
I liked it. You know, it kind of reminded me of, those one of those like marble mazes that you would play as with a kid, the ball puzzles, right?
Yeah.
I think even more so because the levels, you could definitely fly off the end of the levels. It wasn't like an open zone. It is just like floating land in a sea of clouds, essentially. And if you fall off the edge, you're toast. So yeah, I thought it was a very interesting and fun way of controlling a game. I don't know if it's something that would make me be like, hell yeah, the 20th or 30th time I'm doing it as far as like a level goes, right? Yeah, or if it's like a really difficult level, it might get more annoying, especially because, those Wii remotes, they would sometimes lose their calibration and you'd be doing some weird, wacky shit. So I could definitely see that happening, especially with the amount, like you have to shake the remote up and down or side to side to either make a gust of wind or make an earthquake, right? So I could see it getting frustrating on the original hardware. And I mean, it was frustrating for different reasons on the hardware that I was using, but it definitely was thinking outside the box. It definitely was thinking, okay, how do I make something that is made for this hardware that is giving me a new way of interacting with a video game? So I enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, you played it on your handheld emulator, right?
Yes, I played it on my Retroid. There was one option to use the built-in gyroscope of the Retroid to play the game. That didn't work very well. It worked a little bit, but man, did I really have to move that screen around.
That's the problem, is that it's the housing of the screen is also the controller, and you can't always be moving the right way.
I'm like craning my head. I'm upside down. It did not work. So then I did it the handheld Dolphin emulator, and I just mapped the controller very specifically to work on the handheld. Yeah.
I did almost exactly the same thing where like, I was like, all right, I'm going to try and figure out how to, cause you can connect to your, just your regular Wiimote to your computer.
Yeah.
So I tried using that and I was like, this is like not bad. It's definitely like, this is the original hardware sort of.
Yeah.
And so it's like not horrible, but I was like, what if I'm just going to try using an Xbox controller and see if I can't map it out. The controller mapping is so challenging.
Yeah, it is.
Because like, so first off, so the way that it does it, if you tilt the Wiimote like up and to the left, then Dewey, like the world will move that way. And so Dewey will respond to that.
Yeah.
But because you're holding the Wiimote sideways, you have to like map the controller incorrectly. So it's like right is up and left, like all of it is just rotated 90 degrees.
Yep.
And I like definitely screwed up a couple of times of like, I think I'm pressing up, but it is actually tilting the wrong way. And so I'm going the opposite direction that I think I'm going to go. But once I finally got it dialed in, it was pretty like normal and easy to actually control the game. And like, I'm sorry, Shigeru Miyamoto, I don't want to put you on blast right now, but like the game was so much better when I just used a controller. It was so good. Like just easily being able to return to flat at like no controller input and like the world is just totally normal again was so useful. Like just being able to like
reset.
Reset. Like, which is a thing that is really hard on a Wiimote, is like coming back to center, right? Because either it'll come out of sync a little bit and that won't work perfectly, or like just your human body doesn't know exactly the degree tilt that it's asking for. And so like that, it's really hard. And I think that's part of that's part of why the little like marble things are fun. But for like more than 20 minutes of gaming, it's like, I would actually really like to be able to control this pretty directly.
Yeah. Because some of those levels get a little complicated.
They do get a little complicated. The enemies by and large are like so easy to beat. And so it's largely just a platforming challenge. which is cool. And like I said, just whenever I'm playing it with the controller, I was like, man, this game is pretty good compared to when I was using the Wiimote, which is a bit of a shame because like, you know, it would be a bummer if you're playing, I don't know, something on the DS and it's like, this game is way better without the 2 screens. Like it's just the one.
Yeah. Do you just have a Wiimote in cold storage at your house?
I bought one pretty recently.
You bought one? For what?
For this, because I was like, I don't have a Wiimote in cold storage. And so I was like, I don't think I know where any of them are. Like they're probably buried in some crevice at either, you know, my dad's house or something. And I have no idea where it is, or it's in a dump somewhere. I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah.
But I was like, I should just have one because it's going to make it a lot easier to like play on the original hardware. But it's like bright, hot pink, which I'm very, very excited about, very thrilled about to own. And I have a little Wiimote. It also came with 2 nunchucks, so I'm heavy with nunchucks right now.
2 nunchucks, 1 Wiimote? Is that a new thing?
That's a new thing that I made. So yeah, no, I got it for this game specifically. And again, just like I would like to keep trying to play Wii games because I think there's a lot of stuff in there that like, frankly, I feel like I have less exposure to. I feel like I was very focused on playing, I think specifically kind of 360 video games at the time that there are a lot of Wii games that I'm like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
There's
think
just
probably
so many Wii games.
There are a lot of Wii games.
So many.
I will say a lot of them are not particularly good. I feel like that was definitely an era where it was a lot of shovelware of like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares video game or something like that.
I think it's because it was such a ubiquitous console. They're just like, all right, this one's for grandma. This one's for your auntie.
The market was huge.
You know?
Yeah.
I think, is that still the highest selling console of all time?
I thought the
like
PS2
most units
was still the highest.
Still PS2.
Oh, it's all very close towards the top. So it seems the highest one is still the PlayStation 2 with 155 million units shipped or sold rather. Nintendo DS is really close. It is 154 million.
Wow.
So like just below.
Whoa.
But the Nintendo Switch, 143.2 or 0.4. So like 3rd place for the Switch.
Wow.
The Wii is down in 4, 5, 6, 7th place.
Wow.
Yeah, I was also surprised by that. It's still sold like fucking hotcakes.
Yeah.
Like it was 101 million units sold. So like quite a bit. But like for context, that's below the Game Boy Color, the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 1, and the original Game Boy as well. Which is surprising. That is really surprising. I think it just sort of made its way into homes of people who were not gamers at the time, you know? And so I think it may have opened a door there. Whereas like the PlayStation 2 was definitely like most people who were playing video games, I think at least were interested in having one, but also it was a DVD player. And so I think that was used as for a lot of people, like that's just the thing that they watched DVDs on. But yeah, lots of Wii video games out there. Turning back to Dewey, what else did you think about this game?
I enjoyed shooting people with lightning.
It was very good.
That was very
satisfying to blast them.
Yeah, blast them. You can change like where your shadow is on the ground, which I think was a fun use of the tilting mechanic.
Yeah.
I thought that the whimsy of the game was very fun. It was a very whimsical game. I haven't played a whimsical game in a while. Not like this. And I liked the aesthetic of like it's a children's book sort of feel, like a watercolor painting-esque world that they had created.
Yeah, it's weirdly like that Bayonetta game that came out last year, I think it was. That's like also a children's book.
Yeah. That was a strange mashup of things for that game. But I never played it, so I can't say.
I hear it's pretty good.
I remember it being people saying it was good.
That's strictly from, I think, Willa from Girl Mode. Said that it's good, and that's honestly the only opinion about that game that I have heard. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of folks played it. It seemed.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar kind of deal where it's like, you know, happening in a storybook. Speaking of which, doesn't The Plucky Squire come out this week? I think that will be out by the time this game is out, or by the time this episode's out.
The Plucky Squire.
Yeah, that's that indie game that's like where you're in 2D and then you can jump out into 3D every now and then. But it takes place in like a storybook, kind of similarly.
This looks fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I think it might be really good.
Let me know.
But yeah, no, I agree. Dewey himself is quite whimsical. Dude is just like always stoked.
Dewey is a fun character.
Yeah, he's a weird little guy.
I like that someone looked at a dewdrop and was like, I'm going to make a whole game about you, baby. Don't you worry.
I'm about to drop the fucking coolest game. I like the kind of like character motif of a sort of like aloof or happy-go-lucky god in that way, you know?
Yeah, it's like Tom Bombadil energy.
Very Tom Bombadil, almost like the kind of like in a different direction, but like Beerus from Dragon Ball Super,
sure,
where it's like very silly god who like is kind of
more
like
of like
strange.
a force of the universe or the world as opposed to like a benevolent creature who's going to help you. He's just like, this is just my function. I'm here to do this, and I'll be gone. Yeah, no, same deal. I think Tom Bombadil's probably a much better comparison than Beerus, because like at no point is Dewey being like, I'm going to destroy your world. But what a heel turn that would be.
Yeah, my God.
That would be exciting.
Same like terrifying smile that he has.
He just turns into Galactic Dewey. Void Dewey.
Kneel before Dewey. Sorry, Don Hydron. You're going to get sucked into the Hydron Collider. Dude. That's Dewey's invention.
The Don Hedron Collider. Just spits him around
Dewey's
so
most
fast.
Fucked up way to kill him. Yeah.
Just pulverizing his atoms one by one for science.
No, I agree. Yeah, the tone of it's really good, and like, of course, you know, it came out on a Nintendo console, so I'm not surprised that like that is what's going on here. But it almost feels first party in the way that like it's communicating its tone and setting here, because it is really like happy go lucky, which is very very.
It's a happy game. It's a happy game. Yeah. It's fun to play. It's whimsical. It's joyous. You know, but also has this very serious undertone that it never strays away from, which I also appreciate, which also kind of feels kids book in a way, in that some kids books get like, they have like a story they are trying to tell. There is something bad that is happening, but people persevere, which I appreciate. You know, they don't try to beat around the bush and just make it all good things. Like Don Hedron's like bad and the world is about to die, and like it's on its last legs, and now Dewey's back and people are like stoked. People are stoked that Dewey's back. It definitely has a sort of like ecological metaphor right there. Sure. You know? Which I think is cool. Like that's pretty neat. Who's going to be our world's Dewey? We're all Dewey at the end of the day. Do the Dewey. Yeah, I think it's time we do the Dewey, which by that I mean save the climate. Save the climate. We need a real Captain Planet. Did you fuck with Monkey Ball at all? Speaking of kind of tangentially related games. I think I played Monkey Ball at your house a couple of times, but I don't think I ever had my own Monkey Ball game. I never owned a Monkey Ball. Yeah, I also I think I had it. I think I owned that game, the first one, and liked it kind of a lot. Again, like when I was controlling this game with a controller, I was like, damn, this was a lot like Monkey Ball, which I think is pretty good. I think it actually is very fun. But it is interesting because like I think at least in the first couple of games, those Monkey Ball games were just like essentially challenges. It was like you started at one end of the level and you're supposed to get to the other one, right? Whereas Dewey's Adventure is much more focused on like finding all your bros in an almost Astrobot kind of manner, right? Of like, I gotta go find all my friends. And so there's more of sort of an adventure idea in the game design here, whereas Monkey Ball is like so much closer to just mechanics. But, you know, again, makes sense for it being this kind of era of Nintendo, despite the fact like Monkey Ball was also on the GameCube. So it's all sort of Nintendo at the end of the day. It's all Nintendo. Always has been. Jared seemed to think that it might be kind of hard to find Podtimistic stuff, but I found this one pretty easy, actually. Yeah. No, I enjoyed my time with Dewey. He was fun. He was cute. Yeah. The game is doing something different, doing something interesting. It's not just like every other platformer. It makes you have to think a little bit about just like how you're controlling the world. I think there's a lot to like about this game. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I do think that the like form changing stuff was really, really good. Like, that was, I think, the most interesting like mechanical thing to me. Yeah, definitely. Because it is like, it's constantly just making you think about like the lenses through which you're viewing the level, which I don't know. I find that really compelling of like trying to be like, okay, well, I can't get across this gap. Like, how else can I do it? It's not the same thing, but like kind of in Mario Odyssey when it's like, well, Mario can't do this one thing. Who can I throw my cap onto to like help me with this puzzle? Who can I possess? Yeah. Or, you know, in this game, what form can I turn into? Do I have to be regular Dewey or do I need to be Ice Dewey or Stewy Dewey? Stewy Dewey. Steamy Dewey. Steamy Dew. I feel like the whole episode is us just riffing on different ways to say Dewey. I got a newy way to say Dewey. I got that newy Dewey. Newy Dewey. Hit me with that newy Dewey, baby. Pop it back. I love Missy Elliott. I love all of her songs. Thank you. Yeah, no, I found this game pretty good, actually. It's like, I understand why you could see it and be like, it's not perfect. Because like controlling it with a Wiimote is pretty challenging. Yeah. And I think when I was playing with the controller, I did find myself more frustrated
more frustrated than the times I was having fun, right?
Sure.
Like the sheer amount of seconds that I was enjoying it versus when I was like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. It was balanced more towards the frustration end.
Yeah.
But when I was playing the controller, I was like, this game is very good. Like it is very fun. So
yeah. And like if you're looking for a precision platformer, this is not it. Like
no,
you are controlling a world to slide a dew droplet across it. So
a
like
little water
it's
guy.
going to feel like that, right? So if you're is it Mario? Is it Astrobot? No, it is not just like finely tuned, precise platforming controls. It is wibbly wobbly. It is, you got to kind of roll with the punches. It is jazz. It is jazz platforming.
It's about the do that you don't do.
Oh, you play all the do's that you don't do.
It's about the do that you don't. Don't the
jazz
do,
about
David.
the do's that jazz about the do's that you don't, baby, more than do's that you do.
Yes, exactly.
Just a guy smoking a cigarette in the corner just saying that.
Very philosophical. I like don't the do. That's a very fun
don't the do.
Saying for Mountain Dew.
If someone asks you the do, you say don't.
I don't the do.
I don't the do.
In this case, I do the do, actually. I think it's a good game.
Yeah, I did the do. I do the do. I'm doing the Dewey. I did the do. I did the did.
And I will do the do in the future.
Yeah.
I will be doing the do.
Do the Dewey.
Got that newy Dewey.
Got that newy Dewey. That ooey gooey newy Dewey.
Feeling a little off my rocker today. Got that screwy Dewey.
Ooh.
Left him out in the sun for too long. Now he's that chewy Dewey.
Ooh. Chewy Dewey. So does that mean that there is like some sort of more hard component to Dewey, like an exoskeleton?
There's some sort of protein in there that will eventually sort of calcify if left out in the sun.
Dewey jerky?
Yeah. Could never tell a lie. Got that truey Dewey.
Ooh. This Dewey's on Reddit. He got that snooey Dewey.
Oh, damn, the snoople.
I know, right? I was surprised too. That's where my brain went. This Dewey is going to contact the military. He's Cooey Dewey.
Cooey Dewey. I like Cooey Dewey.
Dewey's feeling ill. He's spewy Dewey.
Very buoyant. Buoy Dewey.
Buoy Dewey. Really just an unpleasant voice. Shrewy Dewey.
Oh, yeah. So shrewy. Big fan of System of the Down. Got that chop suey Dewey.
Chop suey Dewey. Big fan of blue healers. This is that bluey Dewey.
Did I say big fan of sausage already?
No.
And Dewey.
And Dewey. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a good one. That's fantastic, man.
Born in Missouri, David. Big city in Missouri. Got that St. Louis Dewey.
St. Louis Dewey. I don't know if I got anything else. I got Emerald Lagooey Dewey. He says, bam. This one doesn't make any sense.
I love Emerald Lagooey Dewey.
Emerald Lagooey Dewey. He's about to drop some Cajun seasoning on you, baby.
Oh, man. I've got that 1920s sort of negative word. I got that Fooey Dewey.
Fooey Dewey.
Fooey Dewey. We should move on to the outro for the 3 people that are still listening to this podcast.
After we just Dewified the whole show, man.
Yeah, we really did the do on that one.
We did the do. This is what doing the do once does to a man.
Jared, thank you for your suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Jared.
We finally did it.
This was fun.
It, Joe.
We went on a whole entire rant here just now, so thank you.
This is your fault. Thank you.
If you want to contact the show or interact with us a little bit more, you can visit us at podtimism.com. You can see all of our past episodes. You can search all of our past episodes for games we have talked about. You can look at the podcast thumbnail art that Chase has lovingly made. You can even suggest for us to do a game in the future. We will get there. There's a lot.
Yeah.
We're trying to be mindful about how we choose these episodes and what these games are. So we will get there. For all of you Podtimists out there, we promise. You can also find a link to the Worst Garbage Discord, which is a podcast network that we are a part of. It features such shows as Into the Aether, Can't Let It Go, Frog of the Week,
Paws and Claws,
.zip, and now introducing Girl Mode, the newest, hottest, freshest pod on the channel. Check it out. Give it a go. You can go onto that onto that Discord and just chat. There's some chats going on in there, man. Go check it out.
There's some chats.
Yeah. There's some chats.
That's cool. Cool as hell.
Thank you, Scott Wilkinson, for our podcast art. It's great. You can check out her commissions if they're open at co-fi.com/humblegoat. It's good. It's holiday season's coming up. Maybe get a commission. Make a Cthulhu for your loved one.
Make a Cthulhu
for your loved one.
I don't think her commissions are open right now, but
don't bother her for a Cthulhu commission. Go to someone else, because we're gonna make 5 different types of Deweys for her to make now. So that's just gonna be the way it is. Anyways, thank you. The worst garbage, for having us, and also thank you, dear listener, for listening. We appreciate it. We'd do this even if no one listened. We would just talk to each other and talk about the Deweys that we have in our head, and no one would get to hear those terrible renditions of Dewey. So now you're on the ride with us. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Huey Dewis in the news. How do we feel about that one?
That's a pretty good one. Tangentially to that one, or adjacent to that one, my favorite character on The Boys, Huey Dewey.
Wow, there you go. Easy.
Huey Dewey. Anyways, Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
Yeah, it's don't the do.
Don't the do.
We've always been doing the do. And I think maybe just today, don't the do.
You know, the phrase don't the do has big Fido Dido energy.
It really does.
Really big Fido Dido energy.
Yeah. Like, what would even happen? Like, I've been doing the do so long, I don't know what don't even means.
Right? Just consider it. Don't the do. Why? Everyone says do the do. What about if I do not the do?
I've been doing so long, I don't know how to don't. I can't quit you, do.
I can't quit you. This do is looking a little wet. It's Dewey.
Dewey. Okay, yeah, that's the final one. we finished, right?
We've reached peak Dewey, I think. I think that one should kill it, right?
We're at peak do. We have finally arrived at don't the do.
I think so.
All right, see you next week.
Once you put do on do, it's over. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.